Welcome to another episode of Off the Menu. I'm Vincent Franchini from Tumblr House, here with the slim Charles Coulombe.
Slim?
Slim.
As in lost weight?
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a lot of comments last episode remarking how much weight you've lost. You're looking good, Charles.
Well, thank you. I can say that it's because of living right, eating healthy, treating my body as a temple, being lactose intolerant, vegan, non-smoking, alcohol-free, gluten-free. Yeah.
Wow, it's really hardcore.
I'll say. My body's a temple.
You've turned over a new leaf.
I'll say. Several of them, in fact. I made a salad out of them. No, actually, what's happened, ladies and gentlemen, is that while I'm at school in Austria, I only eat one meal a day and I walk everywhere. So, you lose a lot of weight.
Wow.
But I've gained a lot, I'm sure. I haven't weighed myself, but I'm sure in the week and a half I've been gorging since I got back, so.
Yeah, well, that seems that already happened, right? Like you lost a lot of weight on winter break,
yeah.
and then I guess you gained it back. You said, and then now you lost weight, so it's you yo-yo throughout the seasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you get here. I drive everywhere for starters. That's a problem, and there's so much delicious food I can't have in Austria.
Yeah.
Mexican food.
Yeah.
Which is is all local.
Local Mexican food, yeah, big time.
Yeah. Creole food, very, very local.
Yeah.
Corned beef and cabbage.
Yeah.
Lots of potatoes.
Are there any French Canadian joints over here? Do you get access to your poutine?
Poutine. There are a couple around where I can get poutine, and poutine is really local.
Yeah, no, actually, I've never had that, and I'm interested in having that one day.
I know there's one place in Pasadena that serves it. There used to be one right here in Monrovia. It was a Canadian restaurant. It was very good. It was called the Maple Leaf Cafe.
Wow.
And they had, it was odd because they had sort of a panoply of Anglo and French Canadian food. Pear bacon and all that. But they had poutine in many different varieties.
There you go.
Actually, poutine, we think of it as the French Canadian food. But the truth is, it only goes back to Expo 67.
Okay. Good enough.
Well, yeah, for you, that's 1,000 years ago, so I'm sorry I said anything. But I'm old enough to remember when poutine was invented.
Okay.
So, no, I think of things like croton, which is sort of a French-Canadian pâté, and tourtière, which is our meat pie.
Yeah.
We have a lot of other things. French-Canadian pea soup with big chunks of ham in the pea.
Wow.
It's good stuff. Rabbit. La pain braised aux pommes, which is rabbit braised in Calvados and apples.
Okay.
Gosh. I'm sorry, I'm lost in thought.
We were talking about how much weight you've lost.
Well, we are, but also that got me into French-Canadian cookery, and there actually is relevance for that.
Okay.
Because today is the Feast of the Assumption.
Yeah.
When we're making the recording. And that is the great French National Day. Notice the tie.
Aha, yes.
And that the reason it's the French National Day is because Louis XIII and his blushing bride, Anne of Austria, were married for 20 years without successfully conceiving. It wasn't for lack of trying, and I think they had a couple of miscarriages along the way. Mm-hmm. But 20 years went by. And finally, Louis XIII said to the Virgin, look, you get me a son and heir, I will consecrate my country to you and to your Assumption. And there'll be annual processions, and it'll be great. 9 months after he made that vow, poof, Louis XIV was born. And then a couple of years after that, his brother, Philippe. So.
Did he hold his end of the bargain?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's why when you go to France today, well, it's the National Day.
Well, what's the one where the consecration came late? That's to the Sacred Heart, not to the Assumption.
Heart, right.
Yeah.
That was where Louis XIV refused to do it. And Louis XVI did it privately in prison and promised to do it publicly if he was restored, which, alas, he was not.
Yeah. Okay, before we get started, we are only $130 away from self-actualizing, from having a show every single week.
That's right. In the beauty of your own home.
And so help Charles self-actualize. We've always said he is trans-financial.
That's true.
He is a rich man stuck in a poor man's body.
That's right. And they remind me of my poverty whenever I come in these wonderful doors. They point it out to me. Well. So, be helpful. Think of me, ladies and gentlemen, as sort of a community effort. I mean, it's not just for me. It's not just for Tumbler House. It's a gift to the nation.
You're a gift to the nation.
A gift to the nation.
Okay. Yeah. Let's go with that.
Yeah, I like that. Gift to the nation. So what do we got?
Okay. First question is from Matthew DeBerry.
Matthew DeBerry, you're up.
Which is historically the best Catholic nation, in Charles's opinion?
Which is it?
Wow. Who knows what you're going to pick for this one? Yeah, this is so many options.
Yeah, so difficult. Which could it be, I wonder? It starts with an F, ends with an E. What could that be? France, I guess.
France.
Now, mind you, don't get me wrong.
Why, though?
Austria is close.
Is it, though?
Oh, yeah. Why? Because my dad was French, my mother was Austrian?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, why France? That seems like a weird pick.
No, the oldest daughter of the church.
Oldest daughter?
Yes, the first country to turn Catholic. And a country that it's produced more saints, had more Marian apparitions than any other country. It has fought more wars for the faith. The deeds, they said the gesta Dei per Francos, the deeds of God through the Franks.
Are you even keeping track of other nations, though? How do you know the tally of other nations?
No, because none of them could possibly equal I don't even have to know.
Oh, okay.
No, obviously, ladies and gentlemen, all joking aside, the best Catholic nation is that which most conforms itself to the will of God. And that is an honor that varies and shifts with ages, different time periods. Today, I would have to say Liechtenstein.
For today?
Yeah.
Come on, that's a joke. I mean, what, 100,000 people or something, or 1 million people or something like that?
There's a difference, 100,000 million.
It's tiny.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's tiny or not. I mean, I think it's a more Catholic city, a more Catholic country at the moment than the Holy See.
Okay, how about second place? See, because you had this prepared. You had Liechtenstein in your mind for a long time. So how about expand the highways of your mind? Go to new places.
San Marino.
What is it? The island in the Mediterranean?
No.
What is that?
It's a little hilltop in Italy that's an independent country.
Have you been there? Why would you say that?
Why? Because it came to mind.
No.
And also because it gave its name to one of the most important areas in the world. Our wealthy suburb here.
Oh, I was going to say, what?
Which is named after the other.
Wow, so you can't even name a legitimate Catholic nation.
There is no close second to Liechtenstein. Maybe the Holy See. Because everything's become so perverse. Even Malta is going down the tubes.
Okay. I mean, what about... I mean, there's got to be something.
Well, I have to admit that Poland... can you believe it? People calling.
Yeah.
Poland, Slovakia, Hungary, that Central European bloc that appears to be developing. Maybe them.
Yeah. Okay. Next question is from Rachel. I have a question regarding modesty. Several episodes ago, Charles answered a question about modesty in swimwear. I'd like to hear his thoughts on women's attire in general. Many church leaders have spoken about modesty in the past. St. Padre Pio, as I'm sure you are aware, had very strict rules of modesty for women entering the confessional. Another example is the following quote: Standards of Modesty in Dress, Imprimatur, dated September 24th, 1956. Quote, a dress cannot be called decent which is cut deeper than 2 fingers' breadth under the pit of the throat, which does not cover the arms at least to the elbows, and scarcely reaches a bit beyond the knees. Furthermore, dresses of transparent materials are improper, end quote, by the Cardinal Vicar of Pius XI. Should we be following these strict rules of modesty, or are they antiquated ideals that need not be followed? And I'd particularly like to hear your thoughts on whether or not women should wear pants.
Well, there's certainly good ideals. I think the better choice, shall we say?
What's the better choice?
The bit about the throat and the elbows and so on. But having said that, I think part of the problem is that when you talk about modesty in dress, a lot of women immediately expect that you want them to dress like Amish nuns. Which I think there are at least a couple of organizations out there on the World Wide Web that are producing fashions for women that are modest and yet very lovely and feminine.
Yeah.
And, that's where a woman looks her best, and why shouldn't she? What's wrong with a woman looking really good?
Yeah.
And really modest? It can be done. As far as the other issue of pants, well, personally speaking, I don't like seeing women in trousers.
Yeah.
I just don't. Call me old-fashioned. But again, they don't look their best. We just don't. And mind you, the same is true of men. We don't look our best anymore either. Everybody ragbags around.
Yeah.
There's a very funny picture that's making the rounds of this 1950s scene. And they're looking through a prism into the present and seeing us fat and stupid and half naked.
Yeah.
And you see the looks of horror on their faces.
Yeah.
And that's an important corrective. My brother just sent me a video of New York in 1911. And it's on the streets of basically what's a slum.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody's trying to dress as well as they possibly can. Why can't we do that? It's not like we're poorer than they were. I don't know why. I mean, when I was little, it was already, of course, going this way. But the world looked like Mad Men.
Yeah. That's
what I remember. And I remember seeing it change. And I hated it. I hate it now. They say that you can't judge a book by its cover and so on and so forth. Yeah. Well, there's another old saying. Clothes make the man.
Yeah.
If you dress the part, you will become the part. If you dress well in a becoming manner, it will improve who you are.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I mean, you remember when we used to do these, when we started out, and you were in that wife beater and the Hawaiian shorts and the sandals.
Yeah.
And that stupid straw hat from Puerto Vallarta or Acapulco, wherever you got it.
Yeah.
That just looked horrible.
I felt comfortable, though. I dress for comfort.
Well, I'm sure you do. But I think it looked terrible. That's why you can't find the first 30 episodes of the show.
Oh, yeah, you can.
No, they were purged.
The real first.
The real first, yeah.
Got it.
I mean, not the one that says one. That was when you started dressing like this.
Yeah.
But the first 20 or 30, however many it was, you were sitting there in this sort of weird tourist from hell getup. I mean, pina colada on one side. I I've never said this to you publicly, but I really appreciate the change in your image.
Thank you, Charles.
I mean, this whole, I'd be a beach boy if I were only 50 years younger or older or whatever. You know, no.
Okay. Well, a couple comments. You know, I didn't used to be comfortable, speaking for modesty of men in dressing up, encourage men to wear suits more often. And I think part of the thing is doing it more frequently. And eventually you develop comfort. And eventually I think a suit will actually give you confidence.
No.
Compared to dressing casually. A suit can give you confidence.
Well, you certainly feel, especially everyone else ragbagging around, you feel 10 feet tall.
Yeah, I do. I like sometimes when we have to go shopping after, like, you know, we're throwing a party and like after Mass, I'm still in the suit and you go to the market and I don't know, it feels good. Well, it kind of feels good.
Well, and people will say to you, why are you all dressed up? And my usual answer to that was, if it's a woman, I knew you'd be here.
Oh, that's creepy.
Well, yeah, it is. And by the way, along those lines, if you have to say, I hope I'm not creeping you out, too late.
Yeah, too late.
It happened. But seriously, ladies and gentlemen, clothes make the man or the woman. I remember years ago, I was at a party, and we were running, I won't tell you where it was, but it was up Beechwood Canyon. And we were running low on food and booze, so my hostess and myself went off to the Beechwood Market to pick up more supplies. We saw this gorgeous old lady, dolled up to the nines, and I mean age appropriate.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Right.
Not trying to look young.
Yeah.
But I mean, she had the jewelry, she had the furs, her hair was just so. I mean, she looked like somebody you'd want to have as your grandmother, you know. And she was pushing a shopping cart. And in the shopping cart, all there were cans of dog food and bottles of scotch. Lots of both and nothing else. And so my friend says to me, what do you think that means? And I said, it's easier to keep down when it's marinated.
Gosh. But
the point I'm making is that regardless of whether or not she was using it for herself or Fido had a little drinking problem, whichever it was, you know, this was a lady who was feeling good.
Yeah.
And she certainly looked it. The other thing, too, you've got to ask yourself, we all, even now, I mean, not for Mass, which is unimportant, of course, because no one of any great importance is going to show up at the consecration.
Of course not.
But for job interviews, we still tend to dress up.
That's true. What we value, what's really important.
Yeah, what's important, what really matters, we dress up for.
Yeah.
The thing is, what if you dressed as though every day was worthwhile?
It's very Groundhog Day.
Or Happy Death Day, if you prefer.
Happy Death Day.
Yeah. Now, you know, funny thing, I always wear a suit at school.
Yeah.
And so the kids asked my nephew Albert, who came over to visit me, if I was the same way at home. And he said, well, I've only once seen my uncle without a tie on. He took it off because we asked him to. I said, well, what was that like? He says, his head started bouncing across the floor. And I said, that's creepy. And he said, that wasn't the creepy part. The creepy part was that Uncle kept laughing and smiling as he was bouncing.
Wow.
Well, that was what Albert said. I don't recall the thing having happened that way. In fact, I don't remember it happening at all. But seriously, you know, modesty in dress is all connected up with self-respect. Present the best image you can in front of the world.
Yeah.
That's important. And you might set a trend, you know. If you dress well, other people may want to.
Yeah. One small caveat, too, because this question made me think of St. Francis de Sales, Finding God's Will for You, where he's talking about commandments and counsels. They're two different things. Not following a commandment is punished by sin. Not following a counsel is not punished by sin. And what's a counsel? A counsel's an opportunity to engage in virtue, in charity, or something like that. So it's not. So when we're talking about the rules and adhering to the rules, it's not like, in my opinion, it's not like, oh, if you don't follow this, then you're sinning. I think if you follow that, that's a counsel, and you're practicing the counsel of modesty, and that's a high, yeah.
And mind you, I find it best to attack others for things that I'm not very good at. So in other words, if I was a very poor dresser, I would attack others for modesty.
Yeah. Definitely.
I'd feel better about myself.
Definitely.
Lead a crusade against these sinners.
Absolutely. Lead a crusade.
But remember, it's got to be sins that you yourself partake in. Because without hypocrisy, you just don't have anything going on.
That's a great line. Let's lead a crusade against these sinners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll show them who's boss.
I like that.
Okay.
All right.
Now, who we got next?
Next question is from Andrew.
Hello, Andrew.
Great question from Andrew here. He says, what is the history of tobacco in the West? Did the form of consumption differ amongst the various classes and over time? Mr. Ryan Grant calls nasal snuff the choice of popes and saints, while others dare to call it unnatural. Do you care to weigh in on your favorite form of tobacco consumption?
I do. I really do. I don't care for cigarettes. I've used snuff, nasal snuff, but it's a lot of effort. My favorite form of tobacco consumption are cigars, and especially pipe tobacco.
Okay.
Interesting thing, the WHO, the World Health Organization of the United Nations, undertook a survey of cigarette smokers, non-smokers, and pipe and cigar smokers. They found, firstly, that non-smokers tend to last longer than cigarette smokers, no surprise there, but not as long as pipe and cigar smokers. So the question is, why? Partly, of course, it's because pipe and cigar smokers generally don't inhale. They can get lip and mouth cancer, but those are pretty rare. The biggest question then is, why would they live longer than non-smokers? And I think it's because most of the things that kill people today are stress-related.
I was going to say that because similarly, in terms of a longevity study, it was a little bit of alcohol. The people who drink a little bit last longer than people who don't at all, and stuff like that. So it's people who have everything have things in moderation. They control everything, but they know how to relax.
Yeah. And that relaxation is so important, ladies and gentlemen. Something that we've kind of lost sight of.
Now, you don't need tobacco to relax. Let's just say that. I mean, we're not saying, oh, let's smoke them if you got them.
See? Instead of shaking
I don't know. What, are you a cannibal?
No, I'm just shaking. I'm shaking. You know, I'm obviously deprived. Of tobacco. Now, as far as its history in the West, it's very Native American. It was originally used by the Indian tribes for ritual purposes.
The peace pipe.
The peace pipe. And so if you're against smoking, you're obviously hating Indians.
Wow.
See?
Wow.
Also, you hate blacks because the largest number of people who do the work at tobacco farms in this country are black. So you want to see blacks starve if you're anti-tobacco.
Wow.
Well, I'm just putting it the same way our liberal friends would.
So
you're a racist if you don't smoke.
Is that so? Indians? So tobacco dates back only to Indians?
And it was brought to Europe by the same man who brought the potatoes, Sir Walter Raleigh.
What about? I mean, that can't be true. In
true.
Europe, before the Indians, no one smoked? Oh. Okay, what about over in India, the hookah?
I don't know.
Because they had a different type. They had water pipes over there.
They do, but they smoke tobacco in them. I don't really know, frankly. I do know that the Western European consumption of tobacco came from the discovery of America.
Wow.
Same as potatoes, tomatoes, corn.
Wow.
You know, all that stuff. So the arrival of tobacco in England immediately started a fad. Queen Elizabeth I herself smoked a pipe. But then King James came in and he hated tobacco. So he wrote a book called Counterblast Against Tobacco.
That's so interesting, the exchange here, where certain aspects of each culture, through the trade, they develop characteristics that are so essential to that image.
Yeah.
And like what still is surprising to me is when you said, I don't know how many episodes ago, but you said Indians didn't have horses.
Yeah.
Until the Spanish came over. There were no horses.
Nope.
And yet that's so essential to the image of Indians to us, that they always had horses, and yet no, they didn't.
No, but they did have the peace pipe.
Yeah.
Maybe if we smoke, maybe we could trade tobacco to the Spaniards for horses. What do you say?
I don't think we need to do that anymore. I think we're set.
All right, fine. Be that way. I don't care.
All right, so next question.
All right.
From Brendan.
Brendan the Navigator.
Yes, Saint Brendan the Navigator. What is the history of Eucharistic adoration? When did it develop and become popular? And why is the devotion unknown in Byzantine spirituality?
Well, it really became popular within the context of the Eucharistic revolution, you might say, of the 12th century, about the time that transubstantiation became established as the best way to describe what happens at Mass.
Oh, yeah.
The stories of the Grail, the Corpus Christi feast, and all that, all from the same period.
Did St. Thomas originate that concept of transubstantiation?
No. It goes back another 100 years before him.
Okay.
Hildebert of Lavardin was the man who first coined the phrase.
Got it.
And then in 1215, it was defined as the best way to describe what happens at Mass. So he didn't, St. Thomas received it, but he didn't invent it.
Got it.
But in the 13th and 14th centuries, there was a huge jump in Eucharistic adoration, and that's where it came from. Now, as to why it's not a big part of Byzantine spirituality, that's not entirely true, in that a number of Eastern Rite Catholics, especially in Ukraine and Slovakia and Belarus and so on, did in fact pick it up from the Latins. But the thing with the Byzantines is that they tend to place, they don't have a great deal in the way of aliturgical devotions. Most of the devotions are centered on the liturgy itself.
Yeah.
So it's just a different way of doing it. But I have seen in Austria the Byzantine way of handling things like Eucharistic processions and so forth. And you can call these Latinizations, except they're not terribly Latin. They're simply the application of the Byzantine methodology to the real presence.
Okay.
So,
what about processions? When did those start at the same time?
Well, the Eucharistic processions.
Yes, Eucharistic processions.
Processions, of course, have been with us since the church became legal.
Of course.
But
for feast day, perhaps for Corpus Christi.
Yeah, about the same time.
About the same time. Okay. Okay, next question is from Khalil.
Hello, Khalil.
At what point in English or British history would you say the monarchy functioned best, and why? Also, who is your favorite British monarch?
Ooh, that's a good question. Of course, every period has its own problems, but I would say probably under Henry II or someone like that.
Your favorite?
No, he's not my favorite. As to when...
Oh, as to when... Okay.
No, my favorite is James II, without a doubt.
Well, that's interesting. So, it functioned best under Henry II, but how come Henry II isn't your favorite, even though it functioned best under him?
Well, because it didn't function best under him because of him. It's just that's the way it was. Whereas James II, as we know, lost his crown and everything else to defend the faith. So there's a much more heroic character. I mean, I'd say the same about Charles I. He lost his head.
I see. Okay. Next question is from Gordon. Belloc and Tolkien famously disagreed on the subject of Anglo-Saxon England, with Belloc claiming it was irrelevant and Tolkien upholding it as a beacon of Catholicism. What does Charles think of this?
He thinks they're both right.
Come on.
No, I won't. I mean, Anglo-Saxon England produced a lot of saints. Said B produced Alfred the Great. Did a lot of great stuff. But so did Norman England. And, of course, Belloc, being French, looked to Norman England. Tolkien, being a real Anglo-Saxonist, saw the Norman invasion as the thing that wrecked Anglo-Saxon England. Belloc saw it, being Norman French, well, not Norman French, Burgundian French, as the civilizing element needed to bring England to the mainstream. They were both right.
So everyone's great. Everyone's wonderful.
No, but Tolkien and Belloc are. I'm sorry if I can't give you he's right and he's wrong.
This reminds me of an old episode that we titled Fence Sitting, I think, from a commenter saying, methinks Charles likes sitting on the fence a little too much. Well,
here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. I know that everyone today has to feel to mount their horses, draw their swords, over crap. I know. I get very excited about that. I know I've been thrown out of areas for smoking, so I know how jubilant everyone is. But the truth of the matter is that very often in intellectual disputes, especially between people of true faith and goodwill, there can be legitimate differences that are not necessarily entirely mutually exclusive. If you tell me that breakfast is your favorite meal of the day, I say I prefer dinner. It really doesn't mean either of us hate the other side, but we do have our own views.
But breakfast is more important, which would make you anathema.
No, it's I understand where they're both coming from. What do you want? And I accept them for who they are.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I accept them for who they are. What's the next question? Well, I'm in this mood. I guess I just better be as in touch with the cosmos as I can be.
Okay, next question from Michael.
Hello, Michael.
I would really appreciate a response to my previous question about your current opinion of the Catholic Herald magazine, which I understand has changed its editorial orientation, including its termination of Damian Thompson for speaking out critically against Vatican actions. As I mentioned previously, I subscribe solely on the basis of a Tumblr House video favorable to the publication, and I would like to know if that assessment has changed.
Well, I feel that you don't want me to do that, do you?
No, please don't do that. I think I'm going to represent the audience on this one, and I'm going to say please don't do that.
Not the nicer Charles? The more inclusive Charles?
You can do that, just not in that voice and in a creepy way. I believe you can be inclusive in a non-creepy way. I think it is possible.
You think so?
Yeah.
I've never seen that. Usually they're inclusive the way Michael Jackson was inclusive, as much as they can, etc. What? He was inclusive.
He was.
Neverland Ranch was a non-discriminatory zone. Anyway. Obviously, you're impatient with my analysis. So here's the thing. What was the question?
Has your opinion changed on the Catholic Herald with the changes?
Well, not really. Damien was at great pains to indicate that he was not quitting over any difference of opinion regarding orientation of the newspaper. I don't know because he didn't speak to me about it and has not yet spoken to me about it. No one else has spoken to me about it. They still employ me. You can still catch my Heretic of the Week. So, I don't know. I'm there until they fire me.
Okay, I'm going to speak up. Catholic Herald, you made a mistake. You screwed up. You done screwed up. You had this man writing, bi-weekly? Pretty much bi-weekly. Why would you reduce it? We just got a bunch of people to subscribe to the magazine because this man writes for it. I encourage everyone who's subscribed, largely for Charles, to write in Catholic Herald. Tell them, get Charles writing more, because this is why I'm subscribing. He's a great writer. What are you doing?
Well, there's something that's happened. I should alert my audience.
Okay, go ahead.
There's something that's happened is that Crisis magazine approached me and asked me to relocate my formerly biweekly, then monthly column to Crisis as a biweekly column.
Oh.
Where it has gone back to. They've also asked me to be a contributing editor and the European correspondent. Now, I will still be writing the Heretic of the Week.
Heretic of the Week.
For the Herald.
Always fun.
Yeah. And so I appreciate the Herald giving me a place to do that, and I appreciate Crisis for picking me up in my crisis of financial need.
Yeah.
Anyway, never mind. So, subscribe to Crisis.
Is Crisis a subsidiary of Sophia Institute?
They're connected.
Connected, yeah. Pretty good publications.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. So, do that. Tell them Tumblr House sent you. Don't say anything about the cooking in the executive dining room.
So, but I still do. I still do subscribe to Catholic Herald myself. The article qualities are mostly the same, but obviously I'm not happy about what they did to this guy. He's too classy to say anything, so I'm going to have to say it for him. So, you could do better, Catholic Herald. I'm not going to lie. You could do better. Why are you making wimpy little puppy sounds?
Well, because they're wimpy little puppy sounds. I'm like a beaten puppy. and you're talking to my owner. So what am I going to do?
That's true. That's true. There you go. Sad puppy face. Yeah. Sad puppy face always wins.
What?
Very effective. That's really good. You ever see those commercials where, like, for the dog, those societies that help dogs, and they get the saddest looking dog in the world. And they're making bank.
Oh yeah. Too bad it doesn't work with orphans.
Yeah, I know. They do it with the African orphans, don't they? Yeah, and that actually works.
That was the correct.
I'm sure that works. Okay, so
what else we got?
That's it for the questions.
Oh.
For the book.
The book.
End of Democracy by Christophe Buffon de Chazal.
Oh, boy.
This is one of our best books, Tumblr House best books, as proof of this. By author of Charles Coulombe, author of Puritan's Empire. You may know him. He says, this book may well be one of the most important you have ever read.
And I stand by that.
That has been at the top of the charts. We've gotten some huge reviews. That has been at the top of the charts for as far as political books go. It's been blowing up, and rightfully so. I've reading this book multiple times. You're creating. I was looking to create post quotes on the internet.
Yeah.
And I just had a quote. I had a quote like one per page. Everything is so potent in this book. I had literally about 50 quotes at the end of it, and I've still got them on a spreadsheet. So many good quotes, and you don't have to be. I think it's important that we mention that you don't have to be like a monarchist to read. Got my mom to read it. She loved it. There's problems with our system right now, and it's not just a lack of. It's not because we haven't gotten great politicians. Christophe is saying it's a structural problem. There are structural things in a democracy that lends itself to a lot of the problems that we have.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing book. I've met Christophe actually in Belgium, which is good because that's where he lives.
Yeah.
Of course, he's in the very heart of the EU.
Yeah.
So I would definitely recommend it 100%. Now we're coming to we've got the book. We're coming to let's see, next week
we're going to do 2 more episodes while you're here.
Yep. And
so that'll bleed into September, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah,
because we're gonna do it, we're gonna film it on the Monday, but then we're gonna release it following Monday.
Right.
So that will be in September. So 2 more episodes.
and then I'll be able to say, "See you in September." No,
I don't know that song actually.
that's a little before your time.
Oh, okay.
But it starts out, "So we gotta say goodbye for the summer. But darling, I promise you this, I'll send you all my love every day with a letter sealed with a kiss." Yeah. And I say that to my entire audience.
Very good, Charles. So remember, sign up for Patron so we can make sure that if it's Monday, it's off the menu.
And the soul you save
May be your own.
I would say one thing, though. You really want to get off the menu into a weekly thing in time for Halloween. You don't really want autumn, Halloween, and the Christmas build-up without a weekly broadcast, do you? I didn't think so.
No. See you next time.
God bless.